enable each and every link in your organization. They become your brand ambassador. They become actual executor of your thoughts on the ground, and your corporate governance is in place.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host Priya George, and today we've got a truly special guest joining us, Mr. Dew Narayan. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you. Pleasure is mine too. And I'm really thankful for you to giving this opportunity for me. Thanks a lot.
Great. And we are glad to have you as well. And to our audience, if you ever wanted to hear from someone who has led high performing teams, transformed underperforming branches into top achievers, and taken on leadership roles across some of the most dynamic financial environments, then you're in for something special. Dave, you've had quite a journey spanning public and private sector banking, operations, risk, governance, digital transformation. The list really does go on. Today, we'll try to unpack some of that and hopefully give our audience a peek into what leadership in action actually looks like. Dave, before we dive into the deeper themes of leadership and governance, let's just rewind a little bit. Could you take us through your journey in your own words, from where it all began to where you are now? What were some of those moments that really shaped you along the way? Yes.
Yes, Priya. So thank you very much for asking me that questions. Yeah, I would like to start my journey, and I will tell you entire journey started from the 1992, 16th of March, when I have started my career as a technician in the Indian Air Force, and that was immediately after the +2 educations. That is
Right.
I have started immediately, and I have progressed there, and I have been able to serve the Indian Air Force for around 10 years. And after a period of say 4 to 5 years, I thought of putting my academic journey again on the path,
Okay.
because I have left at a very nascent stage of +2 only. So I have done my graduations, etc. And I started looking for the further enhancement in my career prospects.
Okay.
So it is always easy to say that we can look for the diversities in the roles, but it is really hard to actually go through that particular phases.
Mhm.
So from the total technical background, I have pursued the financial sectors, and I prepared myself for the provisionary officer test,
Okay.
and I appeared and qualified for this post in the State Bank Group uh,
Okay.
in in the year 2000. So after 8 years, I qualified, and it took almost 1.5 years to actually get through that all the processes of the selection. And ultimately in 2002, I stepped into the banking.
Mm.
That is a total financial, you can say, and it was a
Mm.
public sector undertaking,
Okay.
State Bank. So you can see that first transition I have made
Yeah.
from my very nascent stage at 17 plus years, and I have taken a decision to venture out for a career.
Correct.
Just to add to this, I will say that I was not having so much affluent peoples around me, and also not having so much guide around me, but
Mm.
I have made my decisions quite right at that particular time. And even after that is 5 to 6 years, I have also again thought that there is another ladder has to be stepped up now. So that is stepping up has happened, and I reached to the state bank. After a certain point in time, I have gathered all the knowledge, different verticals I have handled, be it liability, be it asset operations, relationship management, then looking at the international banking, looking at the different corporate and institutional borrowers and the customers. I gained through this all this knowledge of having actually, you can say, hands-on job kind of experience. Then I have moved a little bit up and I have joined the Axis Bank, and as a in a specialized role like a Forex, and I have started heading a Forex as a Forex head for the Axis Bank. So, so that I can say that this is something like you get the self motivation, or you have certain things in the your backdrop in the mind that drives you through the different journeys. So that journey didn't stop. Again, I have gone for the next move in the after 2 years, and I have gone to the one of the largest private sector bank, that is ICICI Bank, and I have taken over the responsibility of setting a commercial bank from the beginning. So that was something in the that I have done, and I have made that things, as you have rightly mentioned in the intro, that very beginning to the a particular position which can be further scaled up. That kind of things I have done. So that is something I can say for that particular moment, and for particular vertical or a particular field. Yes, of course, it is very easy to say it today, but this takes a lot of effort and the consistency, because setting something new is really difficult, and also a terrain where that particular segment was not there. So it is like we are going in a country, you can say, where people are bored and we are asked to sell the com kind of things. So that also, then we have to tell that what are other functions of the com. Yeah.
Correct.
So something like that, I can say that this assimilate very life events are there which can be assimilated there. So that was a journey, I can say, in a nutshell. Then I have come to the foreign bank. Now I'm heading the country operation for a Bank of Bahrain and Kuwait in India. And I'm taking care of the entire operation, governance, and administrations. So process, product, compliances, all these functions now I'm able to see. So I can say now, once upon a time it was my role was to do business for the bank and grow the bank. Now it is like how a bank should be running. So that kind of things. So governance aspect is also taken care. So that's my journey throughout.
Right. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that must have been a major switch in your career. And at such a young age, you had the decisiveness in you to be able to take that step. So thank you for sharing that. And you've clearly built every step with intention and resilience. Dave, your role in directing centralized trade operations for ICICI Bank's largest wholesale banking zone involved managing complex EXIM, guarantee, and letter of credit transactions. Ensuring strict adherence to TAT and SLA while fostering a supportive work environment is definitely a delicate balance. How did you achieve operational excellence in this high pressure setting? And what best practices would you recommend for organizations aiming to enhance their trade operations?
So I will tell you, Priya, very, very good questions. Thank you for asking. I really, I have certain things which you have rightly mentioned that looking at is in 5 to 7 minutes of my journey, you could be able to assess that this person is a self-made person. He takes a decision of him own and make sure that it is achieved. That things is there. So I take certain things in my mind, and I feel that Ramayana, if we refer to the our Vedic cultures,
Right.
Ramayana was one era, and that particular tells that what a management practice actually is. So that is the
Oh,
best management as such as of now. And I also imbibe certain leadership quality of the people's like Jamwant, who
correct.
understand where is the potential. Why I'm giving this background to you? Because when I go into a centralized operations, we get a persons who are very new to the team, who are
Correct.
experienced, mediocre type, who are very experienced persons, who are more means aged than you, and you are leading that team. So it's a kind of thing, so much varied team how you handle.
Mhm.
So that is why I just try to relate the Jamunta story where all
Correct.
monkeys and other different kind
Yes,
of
yes,
spices are there. Then also that person is able to find out who is a Hanuman, who is Angad, who can fit
yes,
where.
yes,
So that
yes.
is that is something I also imbibe that kind of culture and the vision to identify the team members who
Mhm.
can handle
Mhm.
differently. Definitely, when we are leading a team, we should know who all are persons who can deliver and make the small groups come together. So that
Makes
was the
sense.
things I have to have the engagement of the stakeholder, engagement of my different skill set, come together, define a process which can take routine works out of the routine. So that is something we call that bulk processing of the thing, bulk doing name screening or certain compliance check in the bulk which can be done, which is also signed up by the compliance legal etc. So that is the things I have tried to do, and I will try to aid here. Yes, I was able to achieve that particular things, and I got a pat from the executive director for handling very very large number of trade volumes within a very reasonable time for a very large MNC client. So
Mhm.
that is something which we have achieved by this putting together all these dots, connecting the dots, managing the ups and downs in the path. That was my role as a leader of that particular team.
Mm. All right. I think one thing that struck me from your response is being able to identify strengths and weaknesses of your team members and then accordingly delegating them responsibilities, but at the same time also, making them accountable, but also empowering your team members. I
Yes.
think that's a great way to, get your team together. So thank you, Dave, for sharing that with us. And it shows how much thought and care goes into leadership behind the scenes. Engaging with regulatory and industry bodies such as RBI, FEDAI, IBA, MPCI requires adept stakeholder management skills. What strategies have you found effective in navigating regulatory landscapes and fostering productive relationships with these entities?
Yeah, very well placed this question, Priya. Thank you. Yes, of course, you know that when we have to manage the things, and also I can say when we are doing this particular banking for so long, I will say the my regulator, that is Reserve Bank of India, is one of the stringent regulator in the world. And the financial entities which are regulated by, say, RBI, say SEBI, say NPCI, settlement agents, these are really have to be every time on toes, because we do not have only one responsibility, that is managing own entity and own customer, but as a bank, we are the persons, we are allowing, if any transaction goes wrong, it goes for the entire banking industry. That will be wrong for entire banking industry. So that kind of responsibility also lies on the shoulders of leaders like us. So that is why we are very careful. How we can be careful? This is, we know, we learn our leadership skills while doing the management programs, that we have to manage by walking. I cannot sit in my cabin and do everything. How I have been able to identify the people? Because I will go and sit beside that person. I have to set certain places, there is no rank and file. I have to take that confidence from my actually executives, that they believe and share the actual ground reality. Unless the management or the leadership know what actually happening on the ground, we will not be able to have the good governance, not have the good regulatory frameworks. That is the most important thing I believe that one leader should have. And they should always have some kind of informal meetings, walking, chit-chatting, taking the real inputs from the actual doers. Otherwise, sometimes it may harm the organization as a whole. So that's my leadership style, how I work, totally collaborative, participative, but being a driver and suggestive.
True. I think the points that you shared are very simple but really effective. I think your approachability, how accessible you are, and making yourself available and visible to your team members and people working with and under you. I think that really drives up the morale of team members. So that really gives us such a clear picture of what thoughtful leadership looks like in action. So, Dave, thank you for sharing that. Now, your involvement in IT project management, including scope settings and vendor negotiations, has been integral to banking operations. In an era where technology partners play a crucial role, what criteria do you prioritize when selecting vendors, and how do you ensure alignment with the bank's strategic objectives?
Thank you, Priya. That's a really very relevant and pertinent questions when we are all talking about the digital transformations. And this has started. I will just, before answering to this question, I will just take a few seconds to just highlight that how the leadership. You see that there are one jam trinity you have said. Like Jandan account, Aadhaar based, and different kind of government schemes that has started. This is always there. I'm just trying to highlight that very simple things that this particular government, which is now in India, which is taking care of the very, very simple and little requirement of the people at large. And that is why a person is becoming so famous and the popular. We call it the today's India leader, world leader, are so many things we call by the name. That leader, if you just try to analyze, we see that leader is actually taking time and addressing the very root cause. That is something that you have highlighted, that we need to understand that certain things very simple things looks like, but it gives a lot of good impact. Yeah, so that was part of that particular things. Coming back to the digital transformation, yes, this is, you see this, it's a driving, entire India is now driving towards the make in India, digitalizations,
Correct. Local.
digital way, yeah, connecting through the digital channels and actually exploring the brains behind all these digitalizations and rightly putting the particular machineries to develop these particular things and achieve one of the fastest growing country in the world. That's a macro way we can say. While coming back to similar way, when I think I have to take a call on the vendor selection, IT partners, or the regulatory tech partners. Now it was like a fintech. All these are the my partners. So I take very cautious steps in deciding that whether that person is having the highest level of integrity, he is having that particular approvals which required to be connected with the financial players like us. So that is certain criteria, and also having, if that particular vendor or partner is not blacklisted by any of the industry associations, so that kind of we get that kind of magazines and we get to know, so they are not blacklisted. At the same times, whether they are able to deliver the project in time, that is most important things. That delivery and the time is required today. Every second something new is coming. So when we talk project, it should be a well documented, well planned, and yes, of course, all the projects has certain margins, but it should not go very long overdue kind of projects. That are certain things on the regulatory and compliance per se I look at. Then from the my own pocket sides, from my budget perspective, I look for the cheap and best, which can actually give some good deliveries for the best cost I can give to the that particular vendor. So these are the certain criteria I decide, and before finalization, I take the sign off from my info security. So related party, you can say the legal, then compliance, then info security perspective. All this sign off is must for me to have that particular vendor onboarded to my organization. So that are the certain critical things which I look for before partnering with the IT.
Understood. And that your response really shows how much thought and strategic clarity goes into these decisions, Dave. It's insightful to hear how leaders like you have to weigh both performance and partnership. Dave, looking at your journey so far with all the leadership roles you've handled and the impact you've made and continue to make, it's only natural to question what's next. Whether it's taking on strategic roles in the boardroom or driving change in new directions. What are the aspirations that keep you inspired today?
Yeah, very good question, Priya. Yes, thank you. Yes, of course. If you see the entire journey of my life, I I have made myself always having curiosity to know something new. Yeah, that is what something I can say. We are sitting across and we are interviewing. That is also one part of my eagerness to know more. Yeah, so that is something I can say, that something which drives me, that I have to work, and I have a lot of things society has given me, so I have to give it back to the society. That is why I want the leadership which can identify and grow the hierarchy. That is one thing that is very much required, though this is a very competitive world, and the people I came across and seen that people are very hesitant to pass on their skills and the knowledge to the teams in appropriate manner. However, I feel otherwise. I feel that if I empower my team, I will have free time for me to grow further in the ladder, and this journey will continue. This journey will continue means this will benefit the organization and also the industry and the country. So that is my thought, and I would continue to do this kind of work in the strategic management roles, in the governance roles. Yes, of course, I have started doing this in my present scenario. I am already a part of a local board, uh, but I want to scale it up. I want to give my all the thoughts, all the skills to the other industries also, where we can actually have uh, varied skills, and we can have certain things which can really benefit. Sometimes what happens, if only one industry player is there, he will think of the way the entire, or you can say the thinking in the silos. No, so when we get a lot of mixed skill sets, definitely it gives a different kind of horizon to any of the company
Correct.
organizations, and we must look for that kind of, and I will be open to take that kind of roles.
Right, right. That's such a thoughtful and inspiring vision, Dev. Um, Especially when you talked about giving back. It's always heartening to hear leaders speak with such clarity about the future, but not just for themselves, but for the organizations and the people that they aim to uplift. As a member of various bank level decision making and governance committees, you've had a hand in shaping organizational policies as well. How does corporate governance influence daily operations, and what practices have you championed to uphold ethical standards within the bank?
Yeah, when we say that corporate governance, we normally learn that corporate governance is the direct responsibility of board. Yes, it is, but how board will execute that corporate governance? My thought is that enable each and every link in your organization, they become your brand ambassador, they become actual executor of your thoughts on the ground, and your corporate governance is in place. It is
Correct.
it is as simple as that. So that is
Mhm.
the thought. This should not remain to the boardroom. How the execution happens, who are the leaders, train the hierarchy, go it to the bottom of the pyramid, and
Mhm.
that organization will be the best corporate governance organization. And that is way I am doing. Today,
Okay.
apart from making the policies, I have certain things like you can say self-audit, and I actually practice that kind of things in my organization, doing self-audit. Self-audit means I will enable the people
Right.
to do the audits. Then RCSA, risk control, self-assessment kind of certain tools are there. Then also doing some quality circles where I actually measure that while how people's what I'm trying to convey, whether it is going in the same way,
Mhm.
because there is
Mhm.
always communication distortion. Unless we get the feedback, we will not come to know that my thought process has actually gone to the people who are executing or who are actual face to the outside world. So these are the
Mhm.
certain things that I practice to make that corporate governance ethics all in place.
Makes sense. And that really puts things into perspective. It's eye-opening to see how corporate governance doesn't just stay at the policy level, but actually shapes the culture and
Yes,
everyday conduct across the bank. We are nearing the end of the interview, Dev, and it's always interesting to hear first-hand experiences. So I have to ask, now that you've recently become a part of Directors Institute, how's the journey been so far for you?
I can be that director institute under the World Development Corporations doing really a great job. Why? Because I will say that with an example, I will try to tell you
Hmm.
that suppose now we are all living in the modern age, and we do the shoppings, and we try to get, many a times we have the scarcity of time, and we wanted that whether I can get all the things at one place, or what I need
Correct.
at one place. Director Institute is playing a good job to place lot of skill set, lot of thought leaders at one place where both can come, that industry can come, choose, pick, and take advantage of this. So I'm really grateful to the having been enrolled into such organization, and I will definitely think that this role which Director Institute is playing, it's a great for the industry. Apart from being a business, it's a really a great things to have for the entire industry across the world.
Right.
That's a
Right.
great. Thank you.
And that's really great to hear. Thank you for your kind words, Dave. It's always encouraging to see how right exposure and structure can bring a fresh perspective, even to someone with your experience.
Yes.
So, thank you for sharing that with us. Dave, this has been such a meaningful conversation. Thank you for taking the time to share not just your journey, but also your insights with all of us today. And it's always inspiring to hear from leaders like you who've navigated the complex world of banking, operations, and governance with such clarity and purpose. So, on behalf of Directors Institute, thank you so much for joining us on FaceTime with Leaders today.
I'm also very much thankful for you and the Director Institute for giving me this opportunity to showcase my thoughts process, and which will definitely carry a lot and carry along to the entire journey, and also maybe useful for the different stakeholders who will be subscribing to this particular platform. Thank you very much, Priya. Thanks indeed. Yeah, thanks.
And the pleasure is all ours, Dev. To all our audience members, thank you for tuning in. I hope you found today's episode as insightful and energizing as I did. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to follow the podcast, share it with someone who might benefit, and of course, stay curious. Because here at FaceTime with Leaders, we are all about learning from the real journeys and real leaders. Until next time, this is your host, Priya George, signing off. Stay inspired and stay informed. Take care.
Thank you, Priya.